So he understands how a formulation recipe needs to scale up for mass production. There are other times when I've had other founder friends who've worked with a chemist that they love the formula, but the recipe doesn't scale up super well. And so then it actually causes a lot of headaches on both sides. So I think finding someone who understands like the level of quality that you're looking for, but also understands like the intricacies of creating a formula at a mass scale is really important.
Welcome to another episode of Nourify and Beautify, the podcast that shows you the other side of beauty. Every week, we interview experts in the world of beauty, health, and wellness so that you can make informed decisions that are right for you. My name is Noura Bouchama.
And I'm Linda Yates. This week, we're so excited to bring Brittany Lo onto the podcast. If you haven't heard of Brittany, she has been an influencer in the world of makeup, beauty, and bridal for many years after making her reality TV debut on the show Coupled and gaining a massive social media following. That led to her founding the high-end bridal hair and makeup brand Beautini. And today we're going to focus on her story of her line of personal care products, Beia. I can't wait to hear, Nour, what she has to share with us.
If this is your first time listening to Nourify and Beautify, welcome. We are so happy to have you. If this isn't your first time, we hope you will follow or subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app and share the show with someone who can benefit from all of this amazing knowledge. Now, let's get into the interview. Brittany, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to talking to you both.
We're so glad to have you on the show today. I don't think we could have asked for a better guest to take us behind the scene of what it takes to bring a brand new product to the life. We're so excited for you to share your journey with us, or the journey of product from the concept of idea to a really product on the market. I know that it has to be so much than what we can expect.
Yes, I used to think that you could just Google it and you would get a blueprint on how to start a business. And boy, was I wrong.
Oh, I agree 100% there.
Yeah. So, Brittany, today we really want to focus our conversation on the founding of Beia, your personal and intimate care product line. And before we get into some of the more technical aspects of bringing your products to life, I would love it if you would take us back to the moment that this business was still a dream for you. And can you start by sharing what was happening for you at the time and what inspired you to take that leap to make Beia a reality?
So funny enough, I actually wrote my second grade journal that one day I was going to have a beauty company. I would play with my mom's makeup bag when I would do ballet recitals each year. And so it was an idea that I had at a very young age. And then I went to Babson College, which is known for entrepreneurship, to really understand what it would take to start a business. And I always knew I wanted to start Beia, start a product-based company. But when I was graduating college, I was supposed to go full-time with L'Oreal after interning there from a summer, and I wasn't sure where the white space was for products. So I first started a beauty service company called Beautini, and through the women that we worked with by doing hair and by doing makeup, I realized that a lot of women were like, listen, like I sweat really easily. Like I'm insecure. Like, will it stay? Or when I sweat, I tend to smell. Like, what solutions do you have? And I was always asked with this level of embarrassment or almost like an insecurity that I also experienced in my own personal life. And so during the pandemic in 2020, when there were no weddings or events and no one needed hair and makeup services, it provided the perfect opportunity for me to start ideating the concept for Beia.
And what came after that first stage of creating the concept?
Well, I went to Google and was trying to figure out how do you find a manufacturer. I remember making some mood boards of like, what did I want this brand to feel like? Even before knowing what products I was going to launch, I think it's really exciting to brainstorm and just go through photos and visually see what you're gravitating towards. So, first step, I was just sitting in my thoughts and my excitement, took a bunch of notes, and then just like looked through a bunch of pictures that really resonated, whether it was like purple flowers or certain brands that I really loved the branding, and created this overall mood board from there. And then I started talking to our customers at Beautini to figure out what was a product that they actually wanted versus looking at a data sheet and deciding from there. And that's what led us to start our first product, which is, and then once you have the idea, the execution is a whole different story.
Did you have any mentors throughout the way?
In the beginning, I did have mentors for my other company, but in the beginning of Beia, I really didn't. It was the pandemic and people had lots of free time to go on Zoom. So I took advantage of that and had many conversations with friends, old classmates, anyone who would listen to me. And I do think it's important, even though when you have an idea, you want to hold it close to your chest. I think finding people that you trust and can share your idea with and get their opinions, and not even necessarily only their opinions, but just see if it's something that they resonate with or also share this problem, is really important to validate the market before you're spending all this time deciding on which products or how you're going to build the brand.
Yeah, that's really a great point. That's kind of your board of directors, even though maybe they didn't have that, formal title, but you were kind of using them that way. So, can you speak with regard to on the way that FDA regulations or regulations in other markets impact the process from the beginning?
So in the beginning, there were different retailers that all have different beauty standards and ingredient standards. So one of the retailers here in the US is called Credo, and they have a standard called the Credo Clean. So that's where they've done a bunch with their own board on which ingredients they think are suitable to use in beauty products that are way more stringent than the FDA regulations. And so, yes, like everything is easily FDA compliant, but there's, I think Europe, as we're seeing even in the food industry, there's a lot more restrictions on what we can have in the US versus overseas. And so we formulated to the top degree from the start because I grew up with sensitive skin. I'm allergic to a lot of ingredients. I can't have fragrance on my skin and I react. And so I found that there was a lot of women who also had similar concerns. So if I was going to build a brand, I wanted to only use the top quality ingredients and use the top standards possible. So that way we're not only creating pretty products, but ones that are effective and gentle on our body.
I certainly can relate there. And I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that point. But you were talking about the ingredients and selecting the ingredients. What are some of challenges you face when dealing with suppliers?
What I learned from our first product was we went to a manufacturer who did turnkey operations. So they would help you source the packaging. And then they also technically had a lab, but it was really a lot more like white labeling. It wasn't really their lab.
Mhm.
And so I learned that I wasn't getting as much transparency as I'd like with that setup. And so after making the first product, I hired a chemist to formulate our products first and foremost. So that way we could really think about what's the best kind of ingredients for this formulation. Because I believe, and I think every manufacturer is different, is if you're working with an R&D lab within a manufacturing plant, they're going to think about costs first and foremost,
Of
right? Like
course.
what's going to be the most efficient, effective way to make this product. When I'm working with a chemist and his whole passion and objective is to make the best formulation possible, yes, we give, guidance on the costing and whatnot, but he's going to be the first one to say, listen, I really think if you want it to feel more X, then we need to add this ingredient. And in order to add that ingredient, we're going to go over budget. And did that many times, and our formulas are very expensive, but I think it's worth it. I wanted to be really proud about the quality of what were releasing, and I think finding someone who shares that passion and that level of that shared mindset and have that alignment was really, really important.
From
Yeah,
personal
that makes sense.
experience, I would say for sure, like dealing with a subcontractor that's gonna do everything, they might give you the best formula, but they will go with a process that's more efficient for them, not necessarily for another manufacturer or for the product you're looking for. So I love your way of at least formulating your products.
And with that said, I do think it's important. Like if I went to this specific chemist that we work with, he has experience, supplying ingredients to different manufacturers. So he understands how a formulation recipe needs to scale up for mass production. There are other times when I've had other founder friends who've worked with a chemist that they love the formula, but the recipe doesn't scale up super well. And so then it actually causes a lot of headaches on both sides. So I think finding someone who understands like the level of quality that you're looking for, but also understands like the intricacies of creating a formula at a mass scale is really important.
So you talked to and you alluded to that formulation process. Is there anything? What was kind of that step by step part of that process?
Well, what I learned at L'Oreal when I was working on this new product launch was you can make something, but it's really important, as even a part of their process, is to have a benchmark. So if you want to go and make the world's greatest cookie, that's great. But having a benchmark and saying, you know what, I really love Tate's cookies. That's my benchmark, but I want them to be bigger. I want them to be fluffier. I want them to have peanut butter chips in them too. Like it gives a baseline of understanding both parties what you're looking for. So for my example, we needed to first come up with benchmarks. Doesn't mean we absolutely love the product, but it's closest to what we envision. And it could be for a totally different use case, but having some kind of formulation that we're like, okay, see this formulation, this is the benchmark, and this is what we want to change about it. This is the ingredients that we want to take out of it, and we want to strip it apart. But that would be the first step is finding that benchmark and then being very clear on what you want to change. And not all changes are possible if you're just removing and changing, because it does impact the structure of the formula. But I would say that's the number one step in that process.
Okay, great. So how large of a team do you work with, and what role did you play as the founder and CEO?
So when we started, it was me, myself, and I. I luckily had an intern during that. I actually had a consultant and an intern helping me at the start because they were gracious with their time as we were building out this brand. And now we have myself, we have a social media, we have a social manager, we also have our business development operations lead, and then we work with a lot of people on retainer or like strong like fractional help as well.
Okay.
And can you tell us or speak about what made you decide to make a vegan product?
Yes. So going back to if I was going to create a brand, I wanted to be able to use every single product possible. And part of when you think about clean, and I think having a cruelty-free brand was important to me, but that almost feels like the baseline. And so when I was looking at the formulations that we wanted to create, it's not like we're in color cosmetics. We don't need to be using beeswax. Like there's a lot of ingredients that we really don't need to be using. And so vegan for me leans like it's another echelon of how do we really thoughtfully think about this formula very carefully and give a standard of the quality of the ingredients or what we're putting in the products. And so from the start, it was important. Like I care about what's in my food, and I'm not a vegan with my cuisine, but I do think when it comes to beauty, that was something that was also important to me.
So what are some of the challenges you faced in the production or formulation process that consumers might not even think about or realize?
I think the most surprising thing is here I was in pandemic. I wanted to pay someone to help me make, thousands of these this new product. I wanted to hand it to whoever I could work with, but I did not realize that you almost have to beg, and you have to, as a brand, pitch these manufacturers to take you on as a client. Like, you are lucky to get FaceTime with anyone. They hardly have websites, if at all. And it's a very archaic piece of the industry because they've been doing it for years, and there's huge, massive beauty conglomerates that can supply a lot of these manufacturers' business. And so I ended up having to meet our first manufacturer who would even take a call with us through one of my interns whose dad knew someone there. And then same thing with our other manufacturers. It's always been through a warm introduction. And then they kind of interview you, and they have to really invest and want to trust the jockey, because right now the horse isn't anything. It's just an idea. And I thought that was fascinating to know how hard, once you have the product, once you know exactly what the formula is going to be, you have the money to do it, you now need to beg someone to make it
Make it
happen.
for you. Yep. It's a
Yes.
very, very exclusive industry, very closed cycle.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. Oh my goodness.
Does consumer feedback play a role in how you innovate or refine your ideas for new products?
Yes, from the start, we took a lot of innovation and product ideas from our real life customers from my first company, Beautini. We worked with them. My team was providing hair services, providing makeup applications, and working with them very intimately. So it provided this beautiful market research platform for us to be able to ask them these questions and understand their beauty pain points just by listening to them talk to myself and our team. And so I think that level of having boots on the ground, whether it's my makeup artist, the hairstylist, or the clients themselves, gives us this insight that is really special and unique that you don't get by looking at industry trends and data points. So it's a huge part of how we started.
You had a focus group, private focus
Yeah,
group.
all the time. Exactly. I have we have focus groups. We have qualitative, we have quantitative research. We have at all sizes focus groups and surveys, and just a lot of qualitative analysis through our customers, whether they know it or not.
That's the beauty of it.
As a leader in the industry of personal and intimate care, what are your forecasts for the industry as a whole?
What I've been seeing this year is that before we saw sexual wellness as one category, we saw body care more in the mass sector of beauty. But now what I'm seeing is personal care and body care really integrating to be defined as skincare for below the chin. And what that means is when it comes to the beauty premium sector, there's a lot more innovation happening and a lot more room for growth, because people are spending so much on their face products, yet would go to the pharmacy to get their body products. But now that there's a deeper emotional connection to body care products and a standard of wellness when it comes to our body and understanding our skin is our biggest organ, I think there's a lot more innovation in the pipeline for that category.
And what are your hopes?
I hope that happens, because we really, honestly, we started in more of the sexual wellness category. I never wanted to, do toys or go really into intimate care, but I found that personal care and sexual wellness were integrated. And we're all about intimate concerns, body blemishes. Like, you're seeing that when you're most exposed, which could be when you're in the bedroom. But now we've really saw the shift with personal care go under the body care arm. And so by leaning into more body care, it's actually broadening our audience. So that way people can feel comfortable using our bikini and body scrub, knowing it has nothing to do with intimacy. And then we have our refresh wipes that you can use to remove odor or sweat, but they're also pH balanced to use before and after intimacy too. And so that's what I'm excited to see, that shift in just broadening the body care market.
And where can our listeners find you online?
So you can find Beia, BEIA.beauty, right on Instagram, or beiabeauty.com for our website. And then if you have any other questions, my Instagram is Brittany, BRITTANY.LO on Instagram.
I'm sure going to follow
Awesome.
you.
It has been
Yes, I know. We have to follow each other. I love sharing and meeting new women through podcasting, through the industry, and I really appreciate you giving me a platform to share my story.
Yeah, it's been very fascinating. So thank you again, Brittany, for coming on the show today. And we wish you the greatest success in your journey.
Thank you again for having me on, and can't wait to talk to you soon.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much, Brittany. It was great speaking with Brittany. I can relate to most of she had to say. Um, Being a woman who started her own business, I really understand that you think at the beginning that you're gonna Google how to create a company, and then you get like shocked by the reality of it. It's not that easy, and I really, really appreciate everything she's doing. Moving from corporate to her own business, that shows a passion, and it made me really want to try her product actually.
Yeah, it really sparked my interest in what she's providing and what she's sharing. I guess one of the biggest takeaways I had, I also am an entrepreneur, and one of the biggest things that I've realized in my own business is how important it is to have connections. Because as she said, manufacturers, it's like she had to bust open the doors to be able to get in and have a conversation with someone. So it was because she was working with someone that happened to know someone and that knew someone. And so those connections, that networking is really key in making your dreams and goals reality, I believe. And that was a big takeaway for me. We want to thank you for listening to Nourify and Beautify, where we show you the other side of beauty. If you want more information about us or to read our blog, please check us out at nourify-beautify.com. I'm Linda Yates.
And I'm Nora Mushama. See you next time. The mission of Nourify and Beautify is to help you understand whether beauty, health, and wellness products are effective and safe, so that you can make decisions that are right for you. When you follow, rate, and share the show, you help us do that, and we really appreciate it.
If you haven't been over to our YouTube channel, you can watch our interviews there. And we'd love it if you would leave us a comment to let us know how you feel about the show. If you want to learn more about the show, read our blog, and don't forget to check out our website, nourify-beautify.com. This podcast is produced by TSC Studios, and our music is from Soundstripe.